Hi, my name is Yolanda Avila. I'm the Custodial Services Manager for Facilities Planning and Operations. I would like to thank the board and Chancellor Smith for supporting the Leadership Academies. Having the opportunity to learn from our district's leaders gave me the confidence to deal with difficult situations and the enthusiasm to embrace change. Leadership Academy gave me the tools and resources to be a better leader and to value the importance of that role. I am forever grateful for the experience and the connections I made with my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jenny Abbott. I'm the Director of Grants and Resource Development at Modesto Junior College. And I would like to sincerely thank the members of the board for the vision and commitment to grow the leadership capacity of the YCCD. It was difficult, I'm sure, years ago when you had this idea to know what the fruit would be, and I think we'll find fruit from this exercise for many years to come. It's been wonderful to have very honest and direct conversation with Joan, many hours worth, and with all of the cabinet members, and we know how much time it takes for them to prepare and have those things. But they've been very honest with us, which has been wonderful, so that we can begin to understand the character traits and the work and the challenges that go into leadership. We're really very grateful. Thank you.
My name is Cecilia Vera, and I am the Health Services Director, and I'd like to say thank you to all of you, each one of you, and most of all, to Joan, who has believed in each one of us, and she has given us, a lot. In this 2 years that we've been with her, she has set examples, and she's set high standards for us, so I'd like to thank Joan for that. And I just want to say lastly that this has been a wonderful experience, and it's very worth, because we don't only learn from what we're being taught, but we learn from each other, and that's a valuable experience. I thank each one of you.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Betancourt, Dean of Allied Health, Family Consumer Sciences, and Physical Recreation and Health Education. And I just want to say thank you for investing in us, the current and future leadership of the district.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Schrader. I'm the controller here at the district. I would like to thank you for directing the chancellor to offer these leadership academies. I've attended both 1 and 2, and I am also proud to say that I have had 4 of the 5 managers that report to me also attend the leadership academies, and I've just seen immense growth with everybody through these experiences, so thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shauna Dean, and I'm the Director of Research and Planning at Central Services. And I just want to express my appreciation for the board not only making it an opportunity for us for the academies, but making it a priority. The chance to gather all of the leadership team, all levels of leadership, from the interim classified placements all the way to the chancellor and through the cabinet was, I should have read what I had. For the sole purpose of growing each other as leaders was unique, and I've never experienced anything like it here. So thank you for that.
Good evening. My name is Mario Guzman. I'm the Director of Technology Services at Columbia College. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I attended both the first and second Leadership Academy, and now I have a good set of books that I need to catch up on my reading. And I do want to say thank you, because I've actually feel like we've become a family, and I can reach out to any of our managers that we took the class with, and it's a good resource for any challenge that can come forward for me. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Shirley Miranda, manager of the Library Learning Center, and I too want to thank all of you for this opportunity. Perhaps a direct quote from the 4 agreements summarizes what I'm taking at heart with me after this academy, and that is, words are seeds and minds are fertile soil, and all the implications that come with that. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ron Kripe. I'm the director of the Regional Fire Training Center, and I would like to also thank the board and Chancellor Smith for this opportunity. And I can tell you that going through Leadership 1 and Leadership 2 has made me a little more comfortable when President Stearns and excuse me, our Vice President came to me and said, would you please take on being the interim for workforce? And so in doing both of those, it's been very challenging, but again, I thank you for those tools to help kind of divide my time and still try to get the job done. Thank you.
Hello, Graciela Molina, Assistant in the Chancellor's Office. What I'd like to thank the board for their wise decision and moving forward with a leadership academy to grow our own. It provided us a wonderful opportunity, a growth opportunity that included, time to network across all levels of the leadership team. And the discussions throughout the two academies allowed me to be inspired by the journey of all of our leadership team and our cabinet members. They invested a lot of time and energy, and so did we, attending the classes, and it was just a great opportunity, so thank you.
Hello, I'm Valerie Parker, Senior Health Services Nurse with the MJC Health Services Department. I'd like to thank Chancellor Smith, the board, and everyone who's played a part in making the Leadership Academy #1 and 2 such a tremendous learning experience. It's been an invaluable experience for me. Thank you.
I'm Lloyd Jackson. I'm Campus Safety with Modesto Junior College. A friend of mine told me once a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle, only burns brighter with each exchange. The sharing of knowledge that was given to us during the Leadership Academies is an investment not only in each of us, which I thank you for, but in this institution as a whole. Thank you.
Let's just give one and two a big round of applause.
Thank you all, and congratulations. Watching that first group come through that door reminded me of the 60s era when all these college kids used to pour out of a Volkswagen. Oh, thank you. I'll be a hero at home now.
I need a dozen of them. Yeah. Real hero. One more.
Trustee Riley and Vince told me no more books. That's it for my report.
Okay, we'll move on to the bond update.
Well, before we move on, Abe,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to really thank Joan and the cabinet and everyone that was involved in this. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, let's give them a hand. Okay, it's Mark or the bond update.
Good evening, everyone. This evening we're presenting, is it coming on?
It'll get there.
Get there, okay.
When we get the new building,
There we
it'll
go.
be quicker.
When we get the new building, instantaneously, Joan committed it to us.
You promised that, Mark.
Yeah, I don't remember using the word instantaneously, but okay.
I do.
We'll do our best. Tonight we're presenting, it's not showing the same thing that's on my computer.
You're not up there yet. Graciela will help you.
There we go. Okay, thank you very much. So tonight we're presenting the projects that are happening on MJC West Campus with a particular emphasis looking at the roads projects. We wanted to put together as comprehensive an overview of the projects that would be done on the roads as possible so they also can be used as reference moving forward, so we can alleviate and do everything we can to make sure these don't cause any more disruption. They absolutely minimum moving forward. So with that, this is an overview of the phased project. You can see we've broken it down into 4 different, actually 5 if you count the parking lot, discrete phases. The first phase is currently under construction. It was started on March 28th, and it will be completed on July 25th. It's the roads that are really kind of behind the science building and kind of to the northwest of the campus that we're working on right now with the roundabouts. We've also working on the road that will reconnect really, the parking lot on the far west of the campus. So recreating that, since that at the point that we disconnected from the county road, will now be reestablishing service through a new road on there. This again is a road that will be going along and making the turn into the existing district and staff parking lot and connecting up to the road that runs basically along the south. That's the main arterial right now for the campus. Oops, I went backwards, I think. So then this is phase 2A. This project is currently in the bid award phase. We anticipate the start of construction on June 6th. It will be a 4-month project, so it will run into the fall of this year. This project is the creation of a second connection to Blue Gum with a turnaround. It will take cars into the child development areas and ultimately connect up to the roads that are running along the north end of the campus. The third phase is 2B. That will start immediately after 2A. It will run from November to January of 2017. Again, about 4-month project. And that's actually the part where we're recreating the connection out to the frontage road along the highway, creating the roundabout, and connecting to the work that we're doing right now in the current phase. So we'll actually be establishing kind of the loop road along the north end of the campus. And at that point, we'll have a pretty resilient infrastructure for the campus, providing kind of a round circulation pattern that will allow students to get around the campus pretty efficiently. This is the more information about 2B, showing the location of the roundabout. We are having to relocate some of the agricultural fields, and so we're going to be reworking those, some of the pastoral land out at the edge of campus. And then phase 3, which is currently being reviewed by the Division of State Architect. We anticipate start in the March of next year. Again, another 4-month project. This project is the parking lot project, where we'll be removing the buildings we're currently in and creating the final parking lot areas for the campus. I'd also like to talk about an ongoing project, the solar array project, that's currently impacting some parking area, has taken that parking area out of commission. That project is currently under construction, as I think many people probably saw we were driving in today. Started on May 2nd, and we are scheduling a completion prior to the start of the fall term on August 19th. Here are some pictures of us getting ready to do the foundations, putting up the structural steel that will hold the solar arrays. The project will go and be complete. I'm sorry, now we're on to the district office building. So district office building, which is another, obviously a project we're very focused on right now. We have a very detailed schedule that I'll give at the end of this presentation, but in general, the heavy construction will be done at the mid to end of September. Then we'll be doing furniture move-ins and commissioning, and we're looking to really move in towards the end of this year. So we have some photographs of the building under construction. Probably one of the more interesting ones is some of the interior photographs you can see of the tenant improvements that are going on inside the building. The building's coming along very well, and we're really excited about it. Here's a fairly detailed logistics schedule that we've created to provide you the information about how the district office building project fits in together with the solar array project, and then the commissioning, and then how that also feeds into the demolition and abatement and demolition of the old district office buildings, and the final construction of the parking lot that will replace the district office buildings. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the projects that are happening over at MJC West. We're really excited about it. It really is kind of last really major phase we've got in the bond program, and I think it's going to really put a nice cap on the work that's happening over at MJC West. So with that, any questions?
Any questions from Mark?
I have a question. I noticed that you named some of the streets 2nd, 4th. What was your rhyme or reason for that? I'm just curious.
On the phases or the actual names of the streets?
No, the streets.
Those are actually the historic names of the streets going back to when this was the Army base.
Oh.
We haven't actually discussed that, or at least I'm not aware that we've had any discussion, but I would assume there'd be a discussion at some point that we'd actually think about renaming those streets. But that takes you all the way back to when the Army base had a very, very high grid, basically a grid, and it had all the barracks set up. So we're just using the historical names as they go back. So yeah.
So then the names may be changed later on.
It's a possibility. It would seem appropriate that we think to look moving forward. So
all right,
because they are vintage. So.
Okay, yeah, real vintage. And the roundabouts, why? I was just curious. There's several roundabouts, right? So that's just to control the flow of traffic. Why so many? Because it seems like there was quite a few.
Two major reasons for doing roundabouts. The first of all is that based on current traffic sciences, if you can call it, or art, or the traffic engineers' philosophies, they believe roundabouts are the most safe way statistically. So if you look at the amount of accidents that have at intersections, roundabouts are the safest way to get different roads to come in and actually circulate the traffic. It also has a traffic calming component. So, for instance, if we had just let the loop road run all the way around, it sort of would take on the feel of a racetrack. That's one of the problems of a loop road, is it kind of starts to look like a really sexy thing to do to drive really fast around it. Yeah. So we thought that it would also be beneficial to actually slow and calm traffic as they travel around. So because we know that a lot of people sometimes they don't plan and they arrive at campus late and they're trying to get to their parking spots, and we want to just make sure that everyone gets to their classes safely. So.
And you also indicated you were relocating or taking up some of the pasture land.
Yes.
So how does that impact the cattle science? How does that impact the ag department?
It's just we're actually reconfiguring the shape of it, and because it's the same amount of space, but the way one of the problems we have what's the road that we connect at, Matt? That we connect at?
Already a road there.
The name of the road that's actually the frontage road.
Brink.
Brink?
Oh,
yeah. The problem with the way that the road currently hits Brink Avenue is it's kind of an oblique angle when you come at it from here. So as cars are coming this way, you have to look back way behind you. So we've shifted the road so we're actually intersecting at a 90 degree, so it'll be a safer connection to Brink. So by doing that, what we've done is we've just taken part of it and shifted it up here, and part of it's down here. So it's the same amount of area. It's just a reconfigured area. Mm-hmm. And because it is grazing land, I don't think there's a significant impact to the function of the space. So. Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mark.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Have lights and screen up. Okay, we get to action item consent agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the consent calendar?
Yeah, just a correction. Pat Brennan is actually retiring with 30 years of service as a community education specialist, not program specialist as listed on the agenda. And then Jessica Garcia is not a new appointment. Ms. Garcia was the successful candidate in our lateral transfer process. So she's a current employee just doing a lateral transfer.
Okay, with those changes, I'll move that we approve them with those two changes and noting Patricia Brennan's 30 years of service and is it Tiana Handel's 23 years of service.
Second.
that motion.
Moved by trustee Hallinan, seconded by trustee Dunn.
Yes.
Man. All in, that'll be from 5.1 through 5.11, with the additions and corrections. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
May I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Many people asked me if the Rojas in here is related to you, and no, there's no relation between trustee Rojas and the Rojas in here, so.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
At one time, I was the only one here. All right, then let's see. We move on to the action items. People have the opportunity to address the board if there is a question regarding one of the action items. And if you would do so, you would fill out a form in the back of the room. Okay, the first one is the quarterly report for the district's financial condition. That Teresa?
Thank you, Chair Rojas. You have before you this evening the third quarterly report for the 15-16 fiscal year. The first portion of the report shows the revenue for the unrestricted general fund at the highest level. As you know, we have many accounts. And what we're looking at is a trend from 12-13 through the projected for 15-16. And what I wanted to point out on the projected, you'll see that the revenue is $5 million less than the expenditures at this point in time. And the reason for that is when we come back to the board in June with the amended tentative budget, we'll amend for the one-time funding we've been talking about this year from the mandated costs. So while that revenue isn't posted in the budget yet, we have brought some of it in, but we've also transferred some of those one-time funds out of the general fund, thus the deficit. We generally would not be looking at a $5 million deficit at this point in time. Then moving on down here, we see the beginning fund balance just in the unrestricted fund of 18.6 million and the ending again of 13,261,000. Again, that's being driven by that deficit in the expenditures over revenue at this point in time. We'll be amending in June and then bringing you the June balances. Moving down to the FTEs, we have adjusted now in the projection for 15-16 the FTEs down to the prior year level. Once again, we talked about that. We're projecting 16,542 FTEs, which is the same level as the prior year and the year preceding that. Again, we had built in some growth, but we've backed that out at this point in time and are just planning on staying even with the prior 2 years. The next section, section 3, are the cash balances as compared to the same quarter in the prior years. And you can see how those trends. I did comment at the second period report that we're seeing more cash on hand at the end of the quarters because we went through 6 years of cash deferrals. This is the first year the state is actually paying us on a monthly basis, and the property taxes are coming in as they did prior to all those deficits that built up to just under $1 billion over that course of years. Then the last portion on this page just shows once again our current budget, the actuals to date, and the percentages of the revenue to budget and the percentages of expenditure to budget.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
On the deferrals, has the state caught up with everything? There are none left?
Yes, great question. Trustee DiMartini just asked if the deferrals have caught up. This current year budget finally brought those just shy of $1 billion cash deferrals back to zero. And so that was one of the governor's main priorities, was to get those deficits out of community colleges and K-12s. because he called it, and his team, the wall of debt, and it was building and building and building. And we've talked about that over the years, and the first year was $250,000, and they said they would clear that the following year. And we pretty much all knew how would that happen. So he really did make that a priority in the state budget to stop those cash deferrals. Looking at the second page, once again, we need to report to the state. Do we have any significant fiscal problems? We're reporting no. And did we have any significant transactions? That would be issuing maybe local debt, issuing trans, settling negotiations, those types of things. Then we would report those significant events to the state and how we would be paying for them or covering them in the current year.
We haven't done a trans forever, have
We haven't had a trans for many, many years. Yes, we have not. I was going to say, we stopped doing that because the IRS was starting to look very carefully at deficits in cash flow. And many institutions could issue trans if they could show a deficit in cash flow. And the IRS said, we don't want public entities earning more interest on that money, because many districts would issue trans, sock it away in the bank, and earn interest. And so the IRS said, no, 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 can't do that anymore. Now, we would have been very legit to issue trans the last 5-6 years with the deferrals, but we were fortunate that we didn't have to do that, because it does add an additional expense to the general fund.
Eventually,
And then the following page is in the format comparing the budget, once again, in a little bit more detail for the breakdown of the revenues in the general fund, as well as the expenditures by college and central services compared to the budget. And what I would point out on line 7 of the interest, this is where we're bringing in that one-time mandated cost revenue, but we haven't brought the amended budget to the board yet. That'll be in June. So you'll see there's a $6 million actual compared to a $175,000 budget. Those dollars will be transferred to the instructional equipment accounts for both colleges, to scheduled maintenance, to fund the retiree benefits, what we call the retiree liability, and then to fund the rate stabilization for the PERS and STRS increases. So we'll bring those in and then just transfer them mostly back out because they are one-time in nature. However, just to remind the board, by putting the STRS and PERS aside, while they're one-time funds, we'll be able to utilize those probably over the next 4 or 5 years so that we won't encroach on the general fund. Now, we have to be watching carefully for new revenue to come in because they are one-time in nature, and they'll help us buy some time, but we'll have to be watching how we can replace those dollars when that fund is depleted. And then I think that's really all the key percentage changes that I wanted to point out. Yeah, that's it. So are there any questions about the quarterly reports?
Pretty cut and dry, so. Okay, so the action we'll take now would be to recommend that the Board of Trustees conduct a public hearing. That's what I did there. Okay, so any comments from the public regarding the budget? If not, then the financial report, the quarter ending March 31st, 2016, and direct staff to submit a copy of the required report to the California Community College Chancellor's Office. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
So moved by Trustee Riley, seconded by
Second.
Trustee Martin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we go back to the revised MJC mission statement. Who has that pleasure?
So one of the recommendations from ACCJC when we submitted our substantive change proposal regarding our baccalaureate degree in respiratory care was to ensure that our mission statement reflected that we offered a baccalaureate degree. And our mission statement was not specific to associate degrees and certificates, but we thought for clarity, for ACCJC, it made sense to add the word undergraduate as a defining term to the statement. So you'll see that on the second line where we say we provide a dynamic, innovative undergraduate educational environment.
Any questions on revision?
Comment?
Comment?
When I'm at the state chancellor's office, I am often asked, as I'm sure you are, Jill, if we are going to remain Modesto Junior College with a baccalaureate degree. I said I had no answer for that, and that would be a college participatory governance decision, but I just want to let you know that that's, I'm sure you've heard that as well.
Chancellor Harris asked me that every time he saw me.
Yeah, me too. So I'm just, he's retired. So, but anyway, I just wanted to put that out to the group. So it's something you may want to put on your.
How many colleges throughout the?
Two.
Still, just
Santa
two.
Rosa and Modesto.
Maybe it's time?
Well, they don't have a baccalaureate program at Santa Rosa yet, so, but anyway, just wanted to throw that out into the crowd.
This has been brought up other times at our institution, whether we move to Modesto College for different reasons. Frankly, a lot of faculty didn't like the term junior, but when it was floated out there, it had enormous support within the community because that's what we've been identified with as academy. But yeah, maybe it's time to look into this.
I will tell you a faculty member, and I won't mention who it was, I'll save their anonymity, but made a recommendation that I thought was really rather brilliant, and it was if we somehow named the college in a way where we could retain MJC, but change the name of the college to not include junior, because there's such an identity with the MJC. And so I thought that was a really interesting proposal, but it's, we probably need to have the discussion.
I mean, not come about, how would that be portrayed?
Well,
you have to
we could incorporate it in a logo,
Oh, I see.
right? We could have a name, you know, we could be Modesto Community College or whatever, but still use MJC as part of a logo.
Modesto, the joyous college. Jubilant.
Ironically, I get a lot of questions why we don't call it Modesto.
Community college.
A throwdown.
Well, thank you, Joan, for that explanation. The recommendation is that we approve the revised mission statement for Modesto Junior College. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved by trustee Martin.
I'll second.
Seconded by trustee Flores. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, now we go to the Columbia College mission statement.
Well, we revisited our mission statement for a different reason, and that is that according to Standard 1A of the ACCJC, the colleges are expected to review their mission statements periodically, and Columbia College had established a 2-year cycle for reviewing its mission statement. We delayed the review a little bit because we were working on our strategic plan, and so we came to the point where we really needed to revise our mission statement so that we could include it in our new strategic plan and also in our self-evaluation report. So I can tell you that it was a very inclusive process, and some of the college council meetings where we sat and wordsmithed some of these things were quite long. I think Aaron was there for a few of them, and we almost got down to what is the meaning of the word is. I mean, so we were that diligent is all I'm saying, as far as coming up with what we thought now represented the mission of Columbia College. So we're asking the board to approve our revised statement.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that we approve the revised mission statement. And I'm kind of confused here because then it's followed by Columbia College mission statement, Columbia College mission statement, adopted in April 22nd. But so the revised
Council.
This is just
That's
to let
when
you
the
know that
college
the
council
college
adopted
council
I
adopted
know
it,
it. That's
but
what I'm
yeah.
saying. So, but we're adopting now the revised mission statement. I'll have a motion for that.
So moved.
Trustee
Second.
Martin, seconded by Trustee
Second.
Hallinan. All in, that we accept the revised statement for Columbia College. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, carried. Okay, now we go to the MJC Level 2 enrollment prioritization. And who addresses that, Jill? Is that?
Sure. So, one of the opportunities that colleges have is to establish the level 2 enrollment priorities. The level 1 priorities are mandated. But following that, we can determine locally enrollment prioritization. And so every 3 years, MJC opens up the process for identified student groups to be put forward for consideration. And the recommendation is that intercollegiate athletes, our TRIO SSS students, and the students who complete the first time in college course be considered for level 2 enrollment priority.
I have some questions. I do not personally know much about how this works. Would you be able to give me an idea of how many students on level 1 receive priority and how many on 2, just approximate percentage of total, and how many people altogether, are getting this priority enrollment?
Not off the top of my head. But we can get those numbers for you.
Are there any restrictions? I mean, like, I see the first time in college, they get it for 2 semesters, but like if a student stays here 6 years and they're in the TRIO SSS, they keep getting it for 6 years priority?
Those programs all have limits for how long students can be an active member, because part of the and including intercollegiate athletes, right? There's a time clock on all of these programs.
So nobody would be using them for more than 2 years?
Well, potentially, because you could be a red shirt as an athlete and possibly have another. So there are
change categories, you mean, like?
No, it's just like you can, but there are limits on it. There's also limits on financial aid. There's much more restrictions on it right now going in. But say if somebody was not a full-time student and maybe they were taking 9 units, that would be 3 years versus 2 years. I mean, it just depending their educational plan. And
there's also GPA and progress requirements for the students as well to remain eligible in these programs.
And level 1 is mandated by the state.
Right. But I was just curious, I mean, for those people that don't fall in level 1 or level 2, I was just wondering what kind of competition they were dealing with, so.
Well, if you're a first-time student, you'd fall into level 2 automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to say something, James?
And all of our students are eligible to take the first time in college course.
So every student would have the opportunity to have priority enrollment if they took that course?
Yes.
So that's a college-wide opening for that to be in that. Also, if you go to our enrollment services page, there's also a priority registration link that also kind of talks about our legal requirements and all of the different groups that are there to.
Yeah, I know we have legal requirements, and I understand, some of these that are on this paper here, why they're important. I just would like to know what percentage of students we're talking about.
Well, we're having some
discussion.
No,
maybe some conversation. Yep, add more.
And currently, we don't always. None of our students that actually have priority reg actually even end up using it.
Yes, that's our part.
It's not like they all all do that, but some of them do and some of them kind of wait. So it takes their action on their part.